it's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I am Gino Buccola, and my co-host Alexa Zepp is here to talk about some big three-year-old racing this week. And that's sort of the theme of this show, Alexa. We have a couple big three-year-old races out at Parks with the Pennsylvania Derby and the Cotillion. And then in our final segment, we're also going to talk about Churchill Downs. They have 4 stakes races that are all focused on three-year-olds. So for the end of the year right now, these three-year-olds still have a few months where they can face each other. So they'll try to beat up on each other this weekend, and we'll get to preview some of the big races out at Parks.
Yeah, Parks is a really big day. Like you said, a lot of graded stakes races and a lot of money on the line. 2 races worth $1 million. But let's take a look at the big headliner, the Pennsylvania Derby.
Yeah, so this is going to go as race number 13 at Parks on Saturday. If you want to follow along with us, we'll go inside through outside, share some thoughts on each of the horses in here as we kick things off with number 1, Doc Sullivan. This is a cool New York bred, Alexa, and most of his career he spent facing New York bred company. But if you look at one of the horses who defeated him a few times, a horse named Pandagate, he was actually 3rd in the UAE Derby. And if Pandagate were to run in a race like this, he would probably be maybe the 3rd choice in this race. He would fit pretty well. So I think we have some questions to ask about Doc Sullivan and maybe some of the company he's kept overall. But if we just use that one horse as a measuring stick, he's not too far off this group. And that is what's interesting about this group in particular, Alexa. There aren't really any of the fierceness, Dornix, Sierra Leone, none of the top 3-year-olds right now at this time on their A game. So it is a more wide open race.
Yeah, there's definitely no standout in here, I would say. It's a little bit wide open. Like you said, Doc Sullivan, he's been first or second in 8 or 9 starts, but it's been pretty much all against New York breds. It's true. He's been against some pretty good horses. But this is going to be the toughest he's ever faced. And he does have tactical speed, but I'm not super confident in him against this level of competition for the first time.
Probably the most well-known horse in the field is Seize the Gray, the Preakness winner. He's a little bit quirky too. We can see sort of looking at Timeform US and where he may be in the race. When he's close up, Alexa, he runs really well. He has 4 wins. All of them are when he's within about a length to a length and a half of the lead early on. In the races where he can't get that positioning, he just doesn't fire. He's not really the same. He doesn't want to pass horses all that much. So he didn't get to the lead last time in the Jim Dandy. This is a softer spot for him. I'm assuming they're going to try to get aggressive with him and at least try to get him as close to the lead as possible in here.
Yeah, I've never been high on Seize the Gray. I mean, I just, I was there at the Preakness. It was a really muddy day. And I think that he got that early lead and the surface really aided him and just he didn't look back. No one else could catch up. And I really just feel like that performance was inflated due to the conditions. And if you compare it to all the rest of his performances, to me, it's a little more of an outlier. And he's going to have a lot of pace pressure to deal with today. So I would want him at longer odds than the morning line at 5-1. And he is in my racehorse horse, which means there's a lot of owners, hundreds, maybe thousands of owners all putting bets on him. So typically you get a little bit lower odds in the morning line with these horses. So he's probably going to be a pass for me.
Great point. Since that Preakness, his next 2 races, when he did face the real tip top of the division, he just wasn't close with them. So I agree with you. I think that one race, that Preakness might be the outlier as we move to Lonesome Boy. Lonesome Boy just feels like he's up against it in here. You can understand why some connections in a race like this, it's a big race for big money. They'll take a shot, see if they can hit the board at least. And this isn't a race where a bunch of these horses scare the heck out of you, but I think Lonesome Boy would really need to improve to be competitive with this group.
I completely agree. I'm not high on him. I mean, he's another one who's going to be want to be involved in the early pace, and he's just probably not fast enough to be a real contender in that early pace. So I don't think it sets up very well for him in here.
One that's very interesting, a horse that you and I both have in our top 4 selections is Time Out, the number 4. He's still really lightly raced. He only has the 1 win, but I think that is more because of his running style. He's more of a closer. So sometimes he'll be in smaller fields where he'll face horses that are a little faster early on than him. But if you were to run this race 100 times, there are definitely versions of this race that set up really well for Time Out. As you were pointing out, Alexa, it looks like there could be a really good amount of early speed in here.
Yeah, I think this race sets up really well for him. I mean, it's going to be I'd be very surprised if there wasn't a fast pace in here.
Same here.
And, the last 2 races he lost, it did favor speed those days, and he still kind of managed to close into that against the bias. So That's definitely a positive mark for him as well.
Yep. Next door is Protective. He's the number 5. He just broke his maiden most recently. He has multiple graded stakes placed, but I have some mixed feelings on him because he has some okay races, but he did need to face a really soft group, and it was a field of 4 for him to finally break his maiden. So I'm kind of hemming and hawing a little back and forth. But if you're just talking about connections, I mean, this is Todd Pletcher. This is Irad Ortiz Jr. This is Rapoli Stable. I mean, we know how well this group can perform in big races, especially in New York. This one's going to be over in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean he's got big connections with big expectations, and I think the expectations might be a little bit too high for him in here. But again, another closer that the pace is going to benefit.
Just Step on It, the 6 horse, finished second in the local prep for this. That's the Smarty Jones over at Parks. Problem is, that was a really soft group compared to this one. It was only a field of 5, and he got a really easy lead that day, and he still finished second. So I think he might just be part of the pace in here.
Yeah.
He seems a little up against it to me.
Yeah, I think he's going to want the lead and isn't going to get it. So I just think overall, this is, again, there's just so much pace in here. It's going to be a really tough spot for him to come in.
And we may sound like a broken record because the next couple horses also add pace to the party, right? They seem like they're more in the top contender tier status, though,
Mhm.
with Dragoon Guard, who's won back-to-back graded stakes races. Heck, Alexa, he has 5 races in his career. He was defeated by a neck in his debut, and he won the next 4 pretty easily. He's very close to being undefeated, and he'll step up and get a grade 1 test here.
Yeah, he's on a mission right now to collect Derby wins. He had victories in both the Indiana and West Virginia Derby. He does seem to be a need the lead type, but again, he's going to have a lot of pressure from his outside with Unmatched Wisdom and Who's the King. Also, if you kind of look at those running lines in Timeform US, you'll see the pace figures at different points throughout the race. And if they're exceptionally fast, they're color coded red. If they're exceptionally slow, they're color coded blue. And there's a lot of blue in
Yeah.
his races. So to me, that does say, even though he's won a lot, he's had it a little bit easy without facing this level of pace pressure that he's going to see tomorrow.
Yep, and another one of those pace horses is Unmatched Wisdom. That's the number 8. Alexa, when I'm just going through this field, to me, he's got the most upside of anyone. He's the real wild card in here because he was a bit disappointing in the Travers. It was almost like they tried new tactics. They took him back off the pace a little bit. That didn't work out. But I just keep going through this field, and I feel like if everybody showed up and ran their best race with their A game, this one would be one of the better horses in here. So I think he's going to run really well. How do you feel about Unmatched Wisdom?
Unmatched Wisdom is my top pick. You know, like you said, he's run 4 times, won the first 3. That fourth start was the big test, the big step up in the Traverse, and it was a disappointment. But it wasn't just a tactical issue, Gino. He was bumped at the start and hit from behind, and his leg wrap unraveled. And his trainer did say when he got back to the barn, he had like cuts on the backs of his legs. So, I mean, clearly that is enough issues to just throw that race completely out and say he had a terrible trip, terrible stuff to overcome, and wasn't able to. So I think this is really going to be the first time that we see him out against this competition. I'm excited.
We'll get to a couple bigger prices in Who's the King, who's never faced stakes company and is going to be supplemented. Do you think he has a shot in here, Alexa?
No.
Yeah, I don't either, unfortunately. We can move to Uncle Heavy, the grade 3 Withers winner. He just hasn't really taken the steps forward since that Withers win. That's my problem
Yeah.
with Uncle Heavy.
Me too. He had a fantastic 2-year-old year and then has basically just been flat. So um yeah, not high on Uncle Heavy either.
But to the outside, I think a major contender. Stronghold is a grade 1 winner. He won the Santa Anita Derby. He was second in the Indiana Derby, and he hasn't done a whole lot wrong in his career. So while I think he might be a little too short for me to use on the win end, he's going to be in the mix for me.
Yeah, I expect him to hit the board. You know, he was beaten by 2.5 lengths by Dragon Guard in the Indiana Derby. He's a grinder, so you know he doesn't need that lead, but he will be in the mix. He's one of my top picks in here. I like 8, 7, 11, 4.
And we have the same 4, just in a slightly different order. I'm going to go 8, 11, 7, 4. Alexa, as we get set for our first commercial break, when we return, we'll talk about the Parks Pick 5 on Saturday. Why don't you let some of the folks out there in Sports Grid land know about a promotion we have for them?
Yes, all our SportsGrid viewers can try out our Timeform USPPs absolutely free. They're visual, interactive, and they illustrate how the race is going to unfold. So just head over to drf.com/sportsgrid and use code SGTF24.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln!
But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Okay, now it's pick 5 time. So we were able to get you that Pennsylvania Derby in depth, but the Pennsylvania Derby is part of a late pick 5 sequence on Saturday at Parks. It's the Philly Big 5, and it'll go as races 10 through 14. So this is like if we were going to do a 5-team parlay, we have to have the winner of every race along the way. But Alexa, we're allowed to use multiple horses in each race. It just costs us a little bit more money every time we throw a couple extra horses in. So let's do our best, see if we can lead the folks out there to a winning pick 5, and let's start in race number 10. Alexa, this is the grade 3 turf monster. It's a 5-furlong turf sprint. You and I are going to use 4 horses in here. We're going to go 3, 4, 6, and 10. The 3 Super Quest, pretty logical, pretty obvious. He's fast early. And the 4 Jean Valjean, another one who's perfect on the turf, but pretty quick early. So we have some speed horses. We also want to use at least a couple that'll be coming from off the pace, right?
Yeah, the number 6 Alagon really stepped up last time out in the Parks Dash, which was this distance. He pressed the pace and closed that day, which is the kind of performance we used to see from him. His trainer, Edward Allard, is really, really good at bringing his horses back to win the next start after they've won the last time with a 29% win rate and a positive ROI. The number 10 is another one we're going to use, Boats a Rockin'. He is really good at this distance. He's won over half of the time when he's run this distance and hit the board almost every time, and that's 15 starts. So this is a specialty place for him. He actually got second in this race 2 years ago, and his speed figures have just continued to improve since then. He really can't rate that well. He's kind of a one-run horse. He wants to go to the lead and take them all the way around, but he's one of the fastest in here.
Being drawn to the outside might help him a little bit. If that Boat's a rockin', don't come a knockin'. We move to race number 11 at Parks. That's the second leg of the pick 5 sequence, Alexa. We're going to go too deep in the Gallant Bob. This is for 3-year-old sprinters. Ben Tornado, really, really sharp, really honest horse. He's probably the one to beat, but he gets the inside draw, which could sometimes be a little bit tricky, and there's other speed horses in here. So when we were building the ticket, you wanted to sell me on Bucciarino, and you definitely talked me into using this one.
Yeah, Bucciarino going to be 4-1 odds. He'll be the pace setter in here, and I think there's a good chance he won't get caught. He's by Bucero, who is a pretty new sire and just on fire. I've actually bred 2 Buceros for my own racing syndicate, so I'm probably a little bit biased, but the stats also just do speak for themselves. His horses win 19% of the time on dirt sprints, and the average for all sires, to just put that in perspective, is 13%. But this will be the toughest spot Bucciarino's run in. But his last race was a stakes here at Parks with 3 of the same contenders as today, and he blew them away, winning by 6 1/4 lengths.
At Gino Nicola Buccola Jr., I feel like Bucciarino is like a cousin of mine, Alexa. Race number 11, we'll use the 1 and the 3. Race number 12 is the Cotillion. This is one where I sort of talked you into using a horse because we all know that Torpedo Anna is the horse to beat in here. She is so good. She's so fun to watch. She just faced the boys in the Travers most recently, so it's tough to really knock her overall, but I wanted to include Tarifa in here just in case, and it's more of I'm a little bit worried that Torpedo Anna had such a tough race less than a month ago when she had to run faster and farther and face the boys and in a really, really difficult race where she'd been beating up on a lot of the rivals that she was just better than. So if Torpedo Anna shows up, she's better than this group. But if not, the one that I wanted to include is Tarifa because she was actually the morning line favorite in the Kentucky Oaks, Alexa, and she just didn't fire that day. She had a little bit of time off and she's come back. She's run 1 race since, and it was a nice prep race just to get her a little bit of fitness. And I think she could be really good second start back off the bench. So I wanted to include Tarifa, but talk to us a little bit about that awesome 3-year-old filly, Torpedo Anna.
I know. I conceded. I said, okay, put Tarifa on the ticket, but I could have singled Torpedo Anna here. I mean, she's so incredible. She's only lost to other fillies once in her lifetime in what looks like just an off day to me. I mean, she wasn't the morning line favorite, but she was the winner of the Kentucky Oaks.
And that's all that matters.
And the Acorn and the American Oaks. And then, like you said, went up against the boys last out in the Travers. And it was just like a devastating loss to Fiercest by Head. I mean, you could hear when you watch the race, like all the thousands of spectators, like hearts just drop when she just missed. And it was so incredible. It was so gutsy. I think she's going to sit right behind Mystic Lake, like the pace projectors predicting, and kind of laugh her way around to the winner's circle. And for me, there's just no one even close to her in here.
And what you see as Alexa and I are going back and forth is what it's like when you're playing the races, when you're playing and wagering with your friends, when you're playing a parlay with your friends. When you put tickets together, there's a little bit of give and a little bit of take. You have to make some compromises. And we were able to find races where we had some similarities. And then in a couple other races, we gave with one, we take with another. And that's how you work when you're building a ticket with someone and you make some compromises along the way. We've been really lucky to see Torpedo Anna. And I just want to give the connections credit, Alexa, because in this day and age of racing, we don't see horses like her run in all the big races, take on the boys, come back again quickly. And the connections, her trainer, Ken McPeak, did that with her and with Mystic Dan this year. Yeah. With both of those horses, they showed up in all the big races. So
double header on the Derby Oaks. I mean, that's right? Just, who can say that? You know?
So the gambler in me sometimes is looking for other horses that might be better prices, but the horse racing fan in me always loves seeing McPeaks in the winner's circle because they deserve it with how great they've been for the sport of horse racing. Alexa, we already discussed the Pennsylvania Derby a little bit earlier, but why don't you wrap up our picks and remind everybody who we're going to use in race number 13?
Yeah, Gino and I did not have to do any give or take and compromising here. We are on the same picks here. We like the 7 Dragoon Guard, the almost undefeated favorite who's looking to add a 3rd Derby victory to his resume this summer alone. And our favorite pick, number 8, Unmatched Wisdom, good odds, 8-1, trying to give Chad Brown a 2nd Pennsylvania Derby win and the first real graded stakes attempt of his career after having that troubled trip in the Travers.
So the way we've set up our ticket, it basically comes down to we're $20 a horse. I think we're close to about $20 a horse we want to use in the last race. 15 because we have an $80 ticket overall. So we're going to end up using 5 horses in that final race, Alexa. We'll start with the 3 Twisted Ride, who is one that I threw in coming out of the grade 1 Forgo, just facing a lot tougher. The 5 Recruiter, pretty logical, comes off a runner-up effort last time out. We'll throw in the 6 Very Fast Super Chow, and then we have a couple horses to the outside, right? 2 more in here?
Yeah, number 9, Buddy B, 6-1, coming off a really strong win at Parks last month. And the number 10, 90% Maddie. Sorry, I didn't have his name written down. 90% Maddie, also going to be thrown in there on our ticket.
So we just got to get alive to race number 14. If we do, we'll have lots of opportunities to close this pick 5 out. When we return from the break, we'll talk some Churchill Downs. 4 stakes races on the card on Saturday.
Do we have a fantasy star on our hands here, George? Here is the question with Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. A lot of folks went into the fantasy season saying, hey, look, maybe this isn't Anthony Richardson, but it could be the next best thing. I'm here to tell you, I don't know. I'm sort of feeling like Daniels could be better than Anthony Richardson.
I don't know if I'm going to go there yet, all right? But I think he's in the conversation, yeah. What did we hear at draft time? A lot of people wanted a quarterback who could move. Right? You don't want the guy who's going to take 5-7 steps and throw the football anymore because you want that additional rushing yards. You get 50, 60 yards, that's a touchdown. Right? That's why Josh Allen is so valuable. Lamar Jackson is so valuable. Right? You go up and down. Jalen Hurts. You go up and down here. I think Daniels is going to be a good quarterback. I think Washington got their guy, and he can throw the football too. We know McLaurin's a really good wide receiver. It may not be much else there. We'll see what McCaffrey can be. Luke McCaffrey can be there in time. But I do have hope for him. I think at season's end he's going to be a quarterback one. It may be a low end quarterback one, but a quarterback one nonetheless.
Yeah, I was really impressed watching him in that game. All right, now Anthony Richardson, look, he's going to have a big year. He's going to have a big fantasy year. There's no question about it. I don't know about the long-term viability here. And look, give him credit. He hung in there with the Houston Texans. My fear for him, George, is that when you go back and you watch film, if you protect the deep ball against Richardson, he could hurt you with his legs. And that may be where all of his fantasy value is coming from. I cannot see him throwing 2 70-yard bombs like he did again.
That should come in time, right? Practice time. I think he will get better here. I think Richardson's going to be fine. Does need to learn how to avoid hits. All right. Once again, that hit. Remember that hit from Tua last night? He initiated it. Slide. The rules are made for you not to get hit. Take advantage of them.
Well, we finish up this weekend and we head on over to Churchill Downs. Alexa, they have 4 stakes races on the card at Churchill, races 7 through 10. They're all for 3-year-olds, and they're for the horses that might be it's like a little cut below the Grade 1 Cotillion and the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby. So still really nice horses, but maybe not up to Grade 1 class, but some competitive races at Churchill Downs. So let's take a look at some of those races, starting with race number 7, which is a $300,000 stakes race. It's not a graded stakes race, but still big money up for grabs. And one of the horses in there is a former graded stakes winner. That's Batten Down, who won the Grade 3 Ohio Derby. He was actually 3rd in the Jim Dandy, and he was in the Travers most recently when he just found Fierceness and Torpedo Anna, Sierra Leone a little too tough. It wasn't like he ran poorly. He kind of ran his same race that he's been running. He just found that group a little bit too tough. He's definitely the horse to beat in here. Do you think anyone else has a shot, or what are some of your thoughts on the Bourbon Flight?
Batten Down's definitely my pick in here. There's really no major pace. So I think whoever's going to be on the lead is going to have the best trip. And I just think that's going to be Batten Down. So I just think he's going to win.
I was going to say, of the races, it felt like kind of the chalkiest one, the one that we weren't maybe going to be able to find the most value there. Maybe Hades can push in from the outside. And if you're looking for some value, perhaps the one next level is like an underneath horse because he can at least get the distance and pick up some pieces. But didn't seem like you could get a whole lot of value in race number 7. Maybe some value in race number 8, which is the Grade 3 Dogwood, Alexa. My main squeeze is the horse that we'll start with because she's a Grade 2 winner. She's Grade 1 placed. She's definitely in the top tier of contenders in here. She's proven at Churchill. She's a nice New York bred. But I thought there were some other competitive horses in here, some different directions you could go.
Yeah, I think there's a few options in here for some value. I like the number 1 Uphill Dance. Interesting wild card, 15-1 odds. We do need to see a lot better from her than we've seen so far, but this will be her first attempt on the dirt. And it's kind of surprising to me that they're just now trying her here as her sire Tonalist has much better numbers for dirt than turf. Other than the favorite, the other interesting one I like in here is the number 2 Fibber, who was claimed a few back by Chris Hartman and has
for 100,000, right?
Yeah.
You almost never see connections spend that much claiming a horse.
Yeah, quite a big commitment there, and hasn't lost yet under that new direction. Won both the races so far.
So they knew what they were doing. They spent that money up. They came back. They had a couple spots picked out, and that worked really well for them. Yeah, this race is a little more contentious. Monima Gold is a interesting horse. She was actually supposed to run in the Kentucky Oaks earlier in the year, but she's had a bunch of travel issues and kind of physical problems. She's gotten sick a few times. She's just been a little unlucky. Keep an eye on her. Maybe Helena's Forte to the outside, kind of a fun horse that you might be able to get around 4-1 if you want to make a wager there in race number 8. Let's move to the 9th race, Alexa. This one is the Harrods Creek, and in this race, Illuminaire is 2 for 2 for Todd Pletcher, undefeated. Both of those wins came at Saratoga earlier this year. So one of these horses where we're not really sure how good he is, who he's defeated, but he is one that on paper looks like a sky's the limit type horse.
Yeah, the kind of co-favorites in here, Illuminaire and Valentine Candy, are going to be pretty tough. I think there is a potential long shot with the number 7 Dilger, who ran one of his best races ever last out. And the main change there was they cut him back in distance. And this race is a little bit longer than that race, but it's still shorter than what he had been doing previously. He's got a bunch of really fast workouts too this summer that should have him really in shape. He'll be closing. So I know Time From US has the pace as slow, but if it does heat up a little bit more than expected, I think it would set up better for him and might be somebody to include underneath in your exotic bets, like your exactas and trifectas, to get some value.
I think you pointed out the real key to the race, like what Time Form US and the pace projector says. How fast will they be going early? Because it looks like Illuminaire is the real main speed, always into mischief, maybe can push him, but the others all want to kind of sit back a little bit and make one later run. Henro's interesting to me because I think he is going to be good at this distance. He tried to go a little too far last time out after they won the Iowa Derby, but I don't think he wants to go a mile and an eighth. He'll be better here at 7 furlongs. Let's round out our discussion here, Alexa, with race number 10 at Churchill Downs. This one is a very competitive group for the 3-year-old fillies. It's the Seneca Overnight, a mile and a 16th. I mean, you can make cases in here for many. I just put Shotless up to talk about because this is a horse who's actually multiple graded stakes winner and is a pace factor. Is pretty quick early on, but a lot of ways we can go in this one.
Yeah, it's a super competitive race. So in those races, I'm going for a price. I didn't feel like I was reaching at all. This is my favorite horse in here. Number 10, Home Game, 15-1 odds. You know, they stretched her out to a mile last out, and she wired the field on a day that was strongly favoring closers. She won by 11 lengths. The other one that will be tough is the number 12, Miss Justify. She tried the Grade 1 Company last out in the Alabama at Saratoga, and it was too tough a spot, but this field should be a bit easier of a spot for her, and she should be near the lead with Home Game.
One that I might throw in is the 4, Little Jamie. But as we finish up our segment here, Alexa, why don't you let the folks out there one more time know about the promotion we have for the Timeform US watchers?
Yeah, everybody head on over to drf.com/sportsgrid and use code SGTF24 to try out this awesome Timeform product for free.
Hopefully you all were able to make some money and get some information from us this week. We'll be back next week on the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview.
To a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was only going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.